Welcome to the Creativity, Thinking, and Education podcast with your host, Patricia Rose Upsack. Today we will be speaking to a remarkable, wonderful NLP specialist, and his name is Ricardo, and I want to introduce you to him now. Ricardo, I want you to pronounce your name because I don't want to screw it up. So Good morning, Ricardo.
Good morning, Patricia. Yes, my name is Ricardo, and last name is Ocampo. And I am based here in Denver, Colorado. And I've been in NLP for several years, since 2004. And I can honestly say that NLP changed my life. And for those of you out there who are new to NLP, what does that stand for? It stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is, this word is used a lot in marketing technology, technology. But it's a set of skills, attitudes, beliefs, ideas about how to help people be successful in their life, how their neurology, their language affect their experience. We talk about subjective experience, which means the experience that is within oneself, referenced to self, and how we can change that. NLP can be used, in this case, as we're focusing on education, to have teachers be more able to reach students in ways that make them interested in learning and perhaps change some beliefs about themselves as non-learners or poor students, how to help them increase their abilities to learn. And there's a lot of skills available in NLP that allow for that in a very easy manner.
Right.
As well as for parents. Go ahead.
Could you? I read your bio and it's on the website. But could you tell us about your background for the audience that's only going to be listening to you? Okay.
Well, I have a varied background. Primarily related to NLP. I have been in NLP since 2004. I've been through various trainings from Practitioner, Master Practitioner. I've also done my trainer training and Master Trainer. I've had the opportunity to teach. I am a trainer in NLP. We offer Practitioner and Master Practitioner trainings in Colorado and other parts of the world.
What could you? That's part of what I'm interested in. What parts of the world? You seem to travel a good deal. Where do you go?
Yes, I've been traveling to Brazil and to Portugal. So I speak Portuguese. I'm not 100% proficient, but I can definitely get along in those languages. I also traveled to Mexico, bilingual in Spanish, and probably will be traveling to Germany as well here pretty soon. So I'm beginning to learn German as well.
My goodness, you're good at languages then.
Yes, and I've also traveled to Peru, doing related to NLP in a way, doing spiritual work. Working with a mystic and shaman down in Peru, essentially opening the heart space. It's a little bit off topic from
that's okay.
And things like that, but it is about being present. So opening your heart, doing your work, which means doing what you're here to do as your profession, as your calling, but also doing your own personal work in terms of looking at things that are not working in your life. And what may be the cause of that? Usually it's in the past, beliefs that we picked up along the way, traumatic events, memories that have turned into, dialogues for ourselves, self-dialogues that hold us back. And so do your work, be present, be aware of what's happening for you in the moment. Are you reacting or are you responding? And most of the time we tend to be reacting.
Right.
Because we're being triggered by things that happened in the past, which are being brought to the present. And so we go off of that rather than, this is now, this is this moment. This moment is fine. I feel a certain emotion. And a lot of us, don't want to feel certain emotions, we judge them. An emotion is an emotion. It's a feeling in the body. But it's the interpretation that we give that emotion that causes, usually the problems. It's bad, it's this, it's horrible, it's terrible, I need to run away, I need to get away. And so sometimes the fight or flight response kicks in, and, it shortcuts our reasoning, and we react in ways that perhaps, we regret later.
Yes.
So, and what NLP is a beautiful tool is to help you, one, take those experiences and reduce their emotional intensity, their impact in the present moment. So there's some timeline work that we call that timeline is regressing back in time, not like in a regression, but actually going back and reinterpreting, giving new meanings to experiences back then that help you generate new beliefs. And as you come forward in time, it frees up that energy so that you are able then to have a choice to respond rather than react.
Right. I have a question. What drew you to neuro-linguistic programming?
Honestly, it was my own suffering in my life. Okay. I was looking for ways to make my life, which at the time I perceived not to be working well. A lot of emotional pain, I had a very, like most of us, we can say, well, I had an awful childhood or,
right.
all of those things. And that's where I was. I was sort of in the victim mode. Okay. Poor me, why me? And I was looking for ways to free myself from that. And in my searches, I discovered NLP at the Denver Public Library. There was a video cassette by one of the founders, Connie Ray Andreas, here in Colorado. And she was doing a process with someone on NLP. And I said, there's something there. And 2 weeks later, I'm up in Winter Park taking part in a practitioner training. And that began my process of NLP. And it literally changed my life. That led to trips to Peru, which that completely blew the socks off my experience of reality that I had been experiencing. And it opened the doors for continued growth and evolution. And now I am fortunate enough to work with Connie Ray and have her come to our trainings. She's doing other things in NLP. And, to come from where I was seeing myself as a victim and suffering and all of that to now being able to train people to take charge of their own lives is a blessing. I'm extremely grateful for that.
Okay. And I don't know if I don't think I did this. I'm so sorry. Usually I have right in the beginning because I get so involved and I love this podcast because I like the people that I talk to and get to interview. And then I forget that, that at least twice we want to know how people can contact you. Do you have a website? Do you have phone numbers? If someone said, yes, I want to take a class from this man, how do they find out about it? Where do they go? Great.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a website. It's called NLP of the Rockies. That's Nancy, Larry, Pizza, NLP of the Rockies.com. And there you can find information about our trainings. Okay. And also my phone number for those who are interested is 303-550-8553. And again, I'm in Denver. And my office is in Cherry Creek. And I do offer one-on-one coaching, counseling, both for young people and adults. And just as an aside, I'd like to throw that out there, too, that we're in February, we're offering our first couples training as well on improving relationships. So a little different topic, but through NLP of the Rockies as well. And we're offering the practitioner training in 2 formats this year, an extended training for those who are in Colorado who can come to Denver on weekends starting in February, going through June. About 1 weekend a month, except for March, which there's 2 weekends. But that's a way for people to not have to take time off work, come on the weekends, 1 weekend a month pretty much, and get a certified practitioner training course and walk away with these tools to really help people change their own life and those that they love or they work with.
Right.
And we have a residential program in the summer in Winter Park, which is a 13-day intensive in July, end of July through beginning of August. And they can come and create community and be there for 13 days, in the Colorado Rockies. And usually we have people from all over the world come to those trainings. So there's two formats for getting access to this. I also do one-on-one. So, if you want to learn specific skills to help your child, or, if you need ideas as a teacher how to implement NLP in the classroom, I'm available for that.
So have you ever taught a class for teachers?
Yes, I have. My NLP training, I do a lot of training for teachers, psychologists, psychotherapists, and I was also a teacher. I was in the classroom, and I taught Spanish for 4 years in the middle school grades, and then eventually elementary through middle school. So I have some experience, what it is to be in the trenches, per se, in the classroom. And teaching a language, can be challenging.
Right.
But I'd like to say that I had great success, and a lot of my students, tested into Spanish too, at Regis, Mac, East High School, when they graduated from my class. And I pushed my kids because with NLP, I know that they can do a lot more than we assume they can.
Right. Okay. So we were going to have sort of a ongoing dialogue about NLP. To me, it seems like now I am what they call how you can talk about convergent and divergent thinkers. I'm a divergent thinker, which is good, especially if you're in the world of creativity and all of that. But I'm thinking more in terms of, there's so many directions that this could go. And I really want our audience, let's pretend that the person that's listening to this really has never experienced NLP and they really don't understand what you're talking about. Okay. So let's start there. This is basic. What is NLP?
What is NLP?
Yeah.
Good question. Good question. There is, some discussion, the original founders of NLP, which John Grinder and Richard Bandler, right. Sort of two geniuses that came together and discovered essentially what successful people of their time were doing. Especially,
wasn't there a woman too? What was the woman's name?
There's Judith Delosier. Susie Smith, there's...
was Virginia Satir involved in that at all?
She was one of the people that was modeled. So NLP is about modeling success.
Right.
So what does modeling mean is you look at someone that's doing something exceptionally well. So Virginia Satir was able to get great results with family systems and, change in people. So... they were able to take what she was doing and figure out what she was doing. So it's like, making a cake. Someone makes a great cake. You can go and buy the cake all the time at the store, or you can figure out, okay, what are the ingredients, in what order, in what temperature, that sort of thing. And you can start to make your own cake. And essentially that's what NLP was able to do, was take the essential elements of what made Virginia Satir successful. Also Milton Erickson, who was, the father of... Yeah, he was also modeled. Fritz Perls. All these people, it's, what made these people effective at what they did, and take those elements and then teach them to others. And what NLP discovered is you can teach these skills to other people. And that's why it is so successful. So if you have a successful student, for example, a great speller, people in NLP got curious. Well, what makes them a successful speller? And learn the strategies that they use, take the elements to its most simple form, and teach that to another student. And lo and behold, that student learned to become a great speller. So it's that ability to take something, model it, what is excellence, and then teach it.
Okay.
And that is essentially what NLP does. Now, NLP looks at, how is this done? Well, there are beliefs, there are strategies, so how do you think about something? How do you visualize it? How do you think about it? What's the order of the steps you do? Again, like a cake recipe, right? You mix the dry ingredients, your wet ingredients, you put them together. If you do it in a different order, you're going to get a different result. And so it's figuring out that sequence, the strategy, what is a successful person doing? So it looks at and has discovered along its evolution all the different aspects that make NLP today. From learning strategies, from the different way that people learn through visual, auditory, or kinesthetic channels, the way they make pictures, so the way we create an experience. For example, if we have grief, there's a way that we're creating that experience. So Steve Andreas studied people and found out, well, how do people who overcome grief, how do they do it?
Right.
And so we have a process for overcoming grief. So it's taking that sequence of steps. How do people do that well? And how can we then teach that to other people?
Okay.
And
so the key here is, and of course what pops up in my head just immediately is, okay, so how do you teach people things like that?
Well, you essentially take the steps that you model, right?
Right.
So you take them literally by the hand, step by step. So in our trainings, for example, take, for example, the phobia cure. It's a process to treat phobias pretty quickly, usually in one session. People who are afraid of heights, spiders, you name it, snakes, we can treat in a single session. Usually within half an hour, the phobia is gone. How do we do that? Well, there's a certain protocol that you follow, certain steps of how you visually internalize your experience. Most people, when they see, a spider, they make this huge, big image, and it's scary, and it frightens them to death.
Right.
So the brain has learned that spider means you react this way. It sort of bypasses the reasoning portion of the brain. It's an automatic response, survival system. So we reprogram essentially the brain by relinking how the brain looks at a particular image, so that the emotional component is gone. So the phobia cure is also good for PTSD. War veterans who have suffered with nightmares and bad memories. We can reprogram that very quickly so that they are free from that as well. And that is a teachable skill. There's a set of steps that need to happen. And the brain is so creative. So, once you, there's a presupposition in NLP, presupposition meaning sort of a belief, what you focus on tends to grow.
Right.
What you pay attention to grows.
Right.
So
I believe that 100%.
So again, working with kids, if you focus on their negative behavior, well, you're going to get more of it. If you praise positive behavior, you're going to get more of that. So again, how you focus. Again, use of language. NLP discovered how important it is to use the use of language to state things in a positive way. So state what you want rather than what you don't want. Don't run across the street. What are you telling them to do? Because the brain sort of kind of negates the don't or the no. And what it hears is run across the street. So walk across the street or walk down the hall, versus don't run down the hall. Again, there's so many aspects to NLP. I mean, in terms of looking at, for example, if a child has a learning challenge, we have something called neurological levels.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
And it looks at, well, is it the environment that the child is in? Could it be that, he can't study at home because he has to take care of, 5 siblings and the mom is working and so is the dad and, or the TV's on all the time or, what is the environment like?
Right.
Is that an issue? Right. Is it some sort of behavior that's happening? Is it behaviorally based? Is it a capability? Is it a language barrier? Is it understanding? Is it comprehension? Is it not knowing how to memorize things, how to learn visually? Is it something about a belief or a value? They don't find education valuable because maybe their parents don't. Or they believe that they can't learn, or they believe that maybe because they don't have a capability to be a good speller, for example, they don't have the strategy to be a good speller, so they believe they can't spell, which then leads us to the next level. Who do they believe they are, their identity? If it gets into the identity level, I'm a poor learner. That's different than saying I had difficulty learning. Right,
exactly.
Right, so if it becomes an identity level thing, then it's more challenging. So NLP kind of helps discover through their language, through their experience, okay, where does the intervention need to happen as a teacher, as a parent? How do I help best this child? Is it belief-based? Is it capability? Is there some sort of behavior? Is there some sort of environment issue? So those are kind of like logical levels.
Well, one of the things that I was just...
Different things happen.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But one of the things I was just wondering is, I think that teachers probably would take more classes like yours, that if it was taught specifically for, basic levels for teachers, if they could get credit. Have you ever explored the possibilities of them getting, recertification credit or something like that? Because I know that there's a lot of different classes that people can take that they can just give recertification credit for teachers and nurses and, all of that kind of thing. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I love the idea, and we've explored that through coaching for people who are doing their coaching certifications. We've had that before, but it's an interesting, idea that you're offering for me to, pursue that further, to be honest, and explore the possibility of offering credit because they have to have certain numbers of credits anyway, and so why shouldn't it be in something that actually works and helps kids and them? Exactly. And, it's a great idea, and I will pursue it further. I'll contact the Colorado Department of Education and see what we can do.
I think that's lovely. Good.
To add some. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Because, it's being on the other side of it as a trainer, I can say, well, it's not that difficult to learn. And being a student of it at the same time, I can say, is not that difficult to learn.
Okay. All right.
We've taken, NLP has taken the mystery about how the brain works, how language works. It's been handled. So it's easy to learn, and it's great to apply and to see the immediate results that you get. And especially to see the transformation of a student who, at one point was, a, quote, troublesome student.
Right.
My first job, I worked at a Catholic school, and I volunteered with students having difficulty. And one of these kids was about to be essentially expelled for behavior. And a very kinesthetic, very athletic student, but a poor student in terms of academics. And didn't want to be in school, didn't believe he could do things. And I worked with him a couple of sessions. It is not to brag on myself, please.
Oh, no, that's the point of this. We want to know everything that you want to tell us. It's fine. And I know that NLP works. I've watched it work. I just wanted somebody smart like you to be able to explain it.
So at the end of the year, he got the most advanced student award. And ended up going to college. And it's not so much because, Ricardo is such a great therapist. No, it's not that. It's that I just help him to get in touch with his own resources.
Right.
And the other, presupposition of NLP is that we have everything within us that we need to be successful. Sometimes we just need to be guided or help discover it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's what we do as NLP practitioners, is we help people discover, you're thinking about this problem in this way. What if we switch this? Mm-hmm. Oh, it opens possibilities.
Right.
And that's what we do. We help people get unstuck and move forward to their goals.
Thank you for joining me here at the Creativity, Thinking, and Education podcast as we listen to the remarkable Ricardo Ocampo. We will listen to part 2 next week. Please visit us at happyteachershappystudents.com. And if you find value in this podcast and the message that we are trying to spread, then click the subscribe button and give my show a review, hopefully a good one. I am so excited to be able to share the timeless awareness of our guests.